Not everyone loves water unless it tastes great. Nestle Pure Life has a delicate and refreshing taste thanks to its balanced mineral composition. Nestle Pure Life. Great water, great taste.
So, you are Nestle, the largest food and beverage distribution conglomerate in the world. You're the inventor of baby formula and own the largest share of foodstuffs and manufacturing of all time. However, that's not good enough, right? You have bills to pay, vacations to attend, and competitors to buy. So you come up with an ingenious idea. With rivers drying up, water becomes more scarce. And what does scarcity mean? Money to be made. By diverting water from local water supplies, you along with your team build one of the largest water bottling companies in the world, selling the same water back to the locals at higher prices to feed your growing need for exotic goods. Without affordable sources, they continue to drink from polluted water, but hey, why should you care? After all, you've built one of the most profitable businesses of today. Behind just the approaching dangers of hotter summers, global warming impacts more than just our daily lives, and many companies have spotted its opportunities far ahead of our time. Aside from Nestle, many companies have pledged empty sustainable operations that make minimal impact, and others have used the public fear to shut down their competition. Although modern-day media spams us with tales of imminent destruction, most of us are desensitized from it, living our lives as we do. But how bad really is global warming, and how close will it hit to home? Like many natural systems, global warming balances on a fragile range of sustainability. It is a bifurcation curve of a population, with steep slopes rapidly spiraling towards extinction, or in this case, a stone spiraling down or rolling down a hill. Increasing global temperatures are already causing desertification, with areas like the Amazon rainforest, home to millions of species, shrinking to 30% of its original size. In fact, one creature, axolotls, are critically endangered from drying rivers. Axolotls are the junior stage of tiger salamanders, which rarely exist as they only metamorphosize in the surrounding areas that are clean and unpolluted. With rivers shrinking and local areas drying up, these salamanders are forced to remain in the water, diminishing to 700 found in only one river today. Aside from just animals, rising sea levels are damaging cities, with New York City rising 10 inches and Venice flooding constantly. These changes can severely damage our infrastructure and cost billions to repair. In addition, it's just not an environmental thing that's being affected. Oftentimes, the most poverty-stricken are the most impacted, as increasing costs and droughts can impact harvests and ruin the lives of struggling families depending on the environment for survival. But that doesn't mean there aren't efforts being made. Recently, the UN hosted the COP26 summit, our most recent effort in the battle against climate change. Aside from political efforts and new revisions to the Paris Agreement, researchers have been searching for solutions for quite some time. Solving the global warming crisis is simple. Just nuke a volcano and the sulfur dioxide would react with the water in the atmosphere, forming giant veils of sulfuric acid that block the sunlight. But shortcuts like these have drastic side effects, as it simultaneously damages the ozone layer to an irreversible degree in return for short-term improvement. Other more successful solutions, like renewable energy sources, are useful, but they're expensive to maintain and develop, and may also have potential unseen consequences. So, why are we scared to make drastic changes to save the planet? Well, in order to develop better renewable technologies, we need greater funding and money. Money that could be better used elsewhere to support crises and more. In fact, global warming is closely related to 4 separate factors: population size, economic growth, energy intensity, and emissions per energy. As for population, the greater the population, the greater the emissions and carbon footprint. More people means more emissions in total, but there isn't much we can do to limit the population growth. As for economic growth, more technology, including life-saving instruments and critical infrastructure, also require more emissions, more energy intensity, and greater amounts of funding and time. In order to combat global warming, many countries will need to stall their economic growth, which is unlikely to happen. As less developed countries become better, they naturally will become more carbon emissive, and the already developed ones will only strive for better standards of living. As for energy intensity, or the efficiency of energy usage, is also a factor, but according to the direct rebound effect, more efficient scenes tend to be used more, and thus the emission remains the same. For example, when planes become more efficient, the ticket prices come down, but more people took those planes, and thus more emissions were eventually made. Developing regions are particularly at risk, since access to new technology will naturally increase usage, costs, and eventually emissions. Emissions per energy, such as fossil fuels, are the last primary factor, and although sounding simple, cutting it down can also leave damaging results that only limit growing nations. But what can we do? Not much, at least from the individual perspective. To driving less cars. Although vehicles emit vast amounts of carbon, the pavements and building the cars themselves provide nearly the same amount of emission. Going vegan? Meats are extremely difficult to limit culturally, and grass-fed cows and animals actually release more gases than meat production plants. But there's something we can do. We can push for regulatory change and make our voice heard. We can push for taxes on fossil fuel plants, fund renewable energies, enforce greater standards for energy efficiency, and strive for better, more sustainable technologies. The less fossil fuels we burn in the coming years, the more time we give for innovations to catch up. Solving climate change is complicated. We have to account for the needs of billions. But with time, we can work together to make that change for us and for the future.